This is what San Miguel Island looks like right now. San Miguel Island and the other Channel Islands are the jewels of the Pacific. These abalone, sea-urchins, and other shellfish reproduce through the means of broadcast spawning, releasing their product, which are distributed by currents throughout the environment. This process allows the animals to reproduce onto other locations. We have viable and sustainable fisheries because the divers and commercial fishermen have worked with the Department of Fish and Game to establish size limits and other laws which the department strictly enforces. These animals at San Miguel Island are healthy and are providing broodstock for other areas. This video was taken at the Coho Pipeline in March of 1997. For 25 years, divers have harvested this pipeline. We estimated 1,000 abalone on the pipe at this time. It is expected that this area, just south of Point Conception, with its confluence of northern and southern currents, was a major distributing system for platonic larvae of abalone and other shellfish. In March 1998, 101 sea otters were counted in this Coho area. At this time, this was the largest colony ever seen below the management zone. In April, 1 month later, this video was taken at the same Coho pipeline. Fish and Game Research estimates 100 otters will eat as much as 1 million pounds of shellfish a year. Sea otters eat 25 to 30% of their body weight a day. In 1972, the greatest abalone and shellfish area in the world, Morro Bay, was destroyed within a year's time. Is this reasonable to let this happen? California stands to lose 37 million pounds of shellfish a year and over 200 million in revenue. The sea otter population is out of balance because the bald eagle, the killer whale, and the white shark were their predators. Sea otters have very few predators. For over 8,000 years, the native Indians protected their resources.
When primitive people came, they about 8,000 years ago, they shot most of the otters. They didn't make them extinct, but the otters were pretty much eliminated from the community. We know that because the people were taking very large abalone and sea urchins, things that the otters would have taken if they were around. So for maybe 8,000 years, as the situation was with a situation that didn't really have many otters, had lots and lots of abalone.
Something termed zonal management called for U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to relocate sea otters to San Nicolas Island off the Southern California coast. The rest of the Southern California coast was to be a no-otter zone.
Our studies demonstrated that sea otters and shellfish fisheries can't exist in the same place at the same time. There are no easy solutions. The only way that I can see to have ongoing human use of shellfish resource in California is through a process that we call zonal management.
My name is Hugh Thomas. I retired captain with the Department of Fish and Game. I supervise everything from Santa Barbara County up to Santa Cruz County and into Santa Cruz County up to San Mateo. And as you got up into the otter area, you notice a marked depletion of the abalone. At that time, I was a staunch believer that otters were not hurting the abalone population, and so I used to argue with the biologists because they said they were. And however, it turned out to be a fact that they were doing it. It became very obvious. But it seemed to me they came in first in like they would send out the scouts, and then the scouts would come in and they would leave, and then all of a sudden the masses would come in, and there were probably, I don't recall seeing ever probably more than 50 or 100, but it didn't seem to take long, and then they proceeded down through Shell Beach and into Pismo Beach, and then when they hit Pismo Beach, they literally destroyed the Pismo clams. Pismo Beach, on a busy weekend, Memorial Day weekend, 4th of July, Labor Day at low tide minus weekends, there would be several 100,000 clams would go over a 3-day weekend, would be taken legally, legal-sized clams by the sportsmen, and this has been going on for history's time. It's a valuable resource, particularly, they were plenty of reproduction because we had size limits. And then to see them disappear so rapidly, it was like you couldn't believe that it happened that fast.
Hugh, when the otters make the 20-mile jump to the Channel Islands, will they wipe out the abalone?
There's absolutely no doubt about it. And not only the abalone, you can take the lobsters, the rock crabs, what few Dungeness crabs are down in this country. It's going to hurt the tourism industry. It's going to hurt the aesthetics of the whole island. Everything is, it's going to be like a desert wasteland.
Hugh, the sea otter ranges from San Francisco to Point Conception, 350 miles of coast. Why are they leaving that area?
Well, they're leaving that area because of they've overextended their range-carrying capacity, as we refer it to the other animals. There's only so much to eat. They taste good to the otters. They don't have to work so hard. But the urchins and the otters, or the urchins and the abalone, are the first things to go. And it's absolutely like an atomic bomb went off there. It's the same kind of desolation.
Hugh, do you think the southern population of sea otter is the same species of sea otter as the northern population, where there's over 200,000?
I think that I definitely think it's the same species. Taxonomists like to make separate species from things, but they make this the southern sea otter. But there's no doubt that the southern sea otter will interbreed, and it's the same animal that's up there.
Diver Bill Hooten measures his sea-urchins with a 3 1/4-inch measuring device. Divers have worked with the Department of Fish and Game and biologists to set up successful minimum size limits and have taxed their catch $1.1 million for scientific research. We have reached our objectives for a sustainable and viable fishery. Divers leave a lot more sea-urchins than they take, at least 10 to 1. We have also offered the Fish and Wildlife Service $70,000 to help move the sea otters out of the management zone. In February 1999, over 150 sea otters were counted around the Coho area, and in March, 35 to 40 were counted at Refugio Beach. Congressional Law PL 99-625 represents more than a decade of negotiations. Congressman Robert Lagomarsino worked hard to find a fair balance.
Well, Congress clearly intended a balance between, on the one hand, the otters themselves and shellfish and other fisheries. Well, if nothing is done, two things will happen. One will be that there will be all kinds of adverse effects on the balance that we all sought with the law, and that there will be a tremendous adverse effect on sea life and so on, and the livelihoods of people who depend on that sea life. And secondly, and this may be even more important in the long run, there will be a further eroding of trust in government, a further eroding of trust. Here's government saying, you must abide by the law, but we don't have to, even though it clearly says we must.
These abalone are living at San Miguel Island right now. There are over 100 otters only 20 miles away, with scouts already arriving at Santa Rosa Island. Shellfish resources have been enjoyed by Californians for thousands of years. To attempt to change the California marine environment to a pristine state where human use of shellfish resources is not possible is a radical departure from public policy. If we don't curtail sea otter expansion, California will lose its renewable shellfish resources forever.